surface means food slides
getting
right
this
off, and they're dishwasher safe. Plus, they'll stay razor sharp, guaranteed.
heard it.
Pay
Happy
hundreds.
Vlogmas,
Then you'll
don't
get
mind
this
my shirt
complete set of
because
6
I'm in my
NutriBlades for only
hair
$29.95.
element, so
You'll get
I'm
the
using
powerful
a hair
Santoku
shirt.
knife to chop large fruit and dice onions. The slicer for razor-thin veggies and deli meat. The serrated bread knife for slicing fresh, warm bread with ease. The ultralight chef knife with reduced surface area for less friction. This versatile utility blade is great in the kitchen and around your home. And the precision paring knife for peeling and garnishing. $29.95 is an amazing value, but order right now and we'll even ship them to you for free. So get your own NutriBlade knives from Granite Stone, the last knives you'll ever buy.
To order, call 1-800-563-2270 or go online to buynutriblade.com. That's 1-800-563-2270 or go to buynutriblade.com. Order now.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Bentley University, a force for business, a force for good.
Continue to follow breaking news for you here on New York One in two big stories. In the case of United Healthcare CEO, and we are also continuing to follow the latest around the subway chokehold trial of Daniel Penny. The jury there has found Penny not guilty of criminally negligent homicide. Now, this comes after the judge agreed to drop the top charge of second-degree manslaughter, and a lot of people are weighing in. In fact, even Vice President-elect J.D. Vance weighing in on today's verdict in the Penny case, saying, quote, "It was a scandal that Penny was ever prosecuted in the first place." We have team coverage of this. Ayana Harry and Dan Rivoli are outside of the courthouse in Lower Manhattan for us. We'll start with you, Dan, because you were inside of the courthouse for the verdict and the trial. Talk us through what that courtroom was like when they read that not guilty verdict today.
Shannon, we had no clue what the jury was going to decide. So on Friday, the prosecution made a Hail Mary effort to salvage their case from a hung jury by getting the judge to dismiss that manslaughter case. So they come in on Monday. They're ready to deliberate on criminally negligent homicide. And soon after they went into deliberations, they sent back
you
a
guys,
note
I really
to the
feel
judge
bad
saying they had
for
reached
both
a
parties.
unanimous verdict.
The
And
guy who
again,
tried
as I
to
said, we didn't
restrain
know
that guy,
what they were going to say.
thinking he was going to harm somebody or himself, and the guy who died from being restrained, to be honest. That's my thoughts on
The
that.
jurors before they read their verdict, but they came in. The forewoman stands up. She was asked if they had the verdict, and she said not guilty. And you can hear clapping and applause.
I don't know if you guys can hear the news in the back.
Angry remarks and disgust from the other side of the room.
So we got two colors we're working with, y'all. I'm throwing some of this number 4 tracks in the back, and then I'm going to do a peekaboo blonde.
Of criminally negligent homicide and the death of Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely's father had to be led out of the courtroom after making some remarks, and also social justice activists were also led out of the courtroom as court officers tried to make sure everyone was quiet. Judge Wiley said he wanted to privately thank the jury personally off into the jury room. Outside, we heard from anguished members of Jordan Neely's family, social justice activists, the family lawyer, saying that they felt the jury had let them down. Jordan Neely's father spoke. He was hard to hear, but the microphones picked up his remark. Take a listen.
I just want to say, I miss my son. My son didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. Really, really hurts. What are we going to do, people? What's going to happen to us now? I had enough of this. The system is rigged.
Now, throughout the trial, Penny's defense team had called Jordan Neely's death a tragedy, even though they said Penny was justified in putting him in that chokehold, and even saying that the chokehold did not kill him. So, yes, to the defense team, it was a tragedy, but after a verdict that they felt was justified, they Daniel Penny's attorney, Thomas Kniff, posted this on his Instagram account. It's a
So you
picture
guys,
of him,
when you're
fellow
doing
co-counsel
a quick
Steve
read,
Razor, and their
just
client,
keep
Daniel
wrapping it
Penny,
around.
celebrating this not guilty
So as you
verdict
see
with a
that
beer.
I'm just wrapping it
caption on
around, wrapping it
Instagram saying,
around
"Thank you."
in no
Shannon, back to you.
specific way or
We
form.
read earlier the statement from J.D. Vance. We have seen just how much this case has divided
I'm
not just the
just
city, but people are weighing on
making
it on
sure
the national stage. It
no
really
hair
is
is
at the
caught.
crossroads of safety on the subway, mental illness, homelessness, as well as race relations here too.
Yeah, Shannon, absolutely. Every New Yorker rides the subway. Most New Yorkers ride the subway. They are familiar with the issue of mentally ill people sheltering in the subway system and committing acts of violence. That has been a story from before the pandemic. It exacerbated through the pandemic, and of course, we saw with Jordan Neely, even the fact of his, he had an open warrant for his arrest was a piece of evidence. It was the last piece of evidence the defense introduced, the fact that Neely had an open warrant. Now, the jurors did not know what that warrant was for, but it has been reported that it was because he skipped out on a mental health program that he was supposed to attend in lieu of being sent to prison for a felony assault, that he assaulted a 67-year-old woman. And instead of going to prison, he took a plea deal in which he was supposed to get treated for his mental illness. He left that program. The warrant was out for arrest and was still active until the day he died. And of course, for the social justice activists who have been in the courtroom following this case, they do believe that, one, it was their protesting that got the district attorney to bring charges, and also that they do truly believe that Penny put Neely in the chokehold and killed him because Neely was black. And that was a part of the prosecution's argument, saying that Penny ignored Neely's humanity. And to the protesters, one of them had told reporters if Jordan Neely was white, they wouldn't be there speaking to reporters outside of the courthouse.
Okay, Dan, thank you so much. And Ayana, picking up our team coverage also outside of the courthouse in the wake of this verdict. Ayana, you have seen some chaos going on today. In fact, you saw police needed to step in for one scuffle.
That's right, Shannon. When the jury forewoman read the verdict in Daniel Penny's criminal case, not guilty, those two words sent shockwaves not only throughout that 13th floor courtroom, but also sent shockwaves throughout the people here outside of the courthouse, people who had gathered, people who were waiting for the verdict. Some of those people had been here showing up day in and day out waiting for the verdict, and we were there with them as they learned that Daniel Penny would not be held criminally responsible for placing Jordan Neely in that chokehold for nearly 6 minutes last May on an F train. As you mentioned, Shannon, the scene out here did become emotionally intense. We saw a scuffle unfold between some of the demonstrators and NYPD officers. I saw at least one person placed in handcuffs. The people here told us they were angry and they were upset and disappointed.
So we're gonna save this now for the top, because we want to close the top with this and start going blind.
System here in New York City, but instead the jury, after a 7-week trial and hearing testimony from 40 witnesses, this jury felt that Daniel Penny should be acquitted. In terms of the legal arguments in this case, we were able to catch up just after the verdict with longtime New York City trial attorney Arthur Aidala.
I think the defense of self-defense probably worked here. I haven't heard what the actual jurors said, but there's that two-pronged test. Did Mr. Penny feel scared for himself or others? And then would a reasonable person in that situation feel the same way? And that was the last substantive note from the jurors. Please define what a reasonable person
So now we're going to start with the 27, because you basically used half of the number 4. So we're starting with the 27 now. You can see I'm just going around. No specific rhyme or reason.
Guilty. This scene has certainly quieted down significantly after a very emotional reaction, Shannon.
Okay, time for another check of that forecast with Guy. And Guy, we are going to need to keep that umbrella handy for the next couple of days. We'll have clearing though later on in the week.
And the rain will kind of be sticking with us all up and down the East Coast, Shannon, not just New York City, down D.C., Atlanta, and it'll stay this way for the next couple of days. As you get into the Midwest today, if you are going to be traveling west, Better weather, not as wet. Minneapolis to Chicago, the Dallas, Denver, you have some clouds and then sunshine on the West Coast with 40s and mainly 60s. Upper 60s tomorrow afternoon in LA, 43 in Seattle. Still clouds and settled weather here, but as you go to the East Coast, you'll have some broken showers tomorrow with more rain developing for Wednesday. Wednesday, we could see some heavier down or
Thumbs
heavier
up this
rain.
video, share
as
it,
we
like
see
it,
the system
subscribe
here
to
kinda
my
move in for
channel
Wednesday, and
to
then
stay updated with me and my life.
afterwards,
Feedback I
cold
do
air
same
behind
again.
that
This is
37
Brownie from
for
Manhattan, New
Thursday
York.
and Friday
Mwah.
at mid